Burgess here with Music Marketing TV, and today we're looking at bass house production with Saturn 2, Volcano 3, and the Pro Q3. This is just a setting I like to use a lot. I find it very useful, especially with how I deal with the bass. And let's dive right into it. So first, let's start off with the demo. So we might play the whole thing. Here it is. So that is where we are. So I'm still working a lot on the mixing. It's actually not mixed. So this is all just straight production. This is a creative processing chain, not meant to be mixed. Still figuring out stuff like the bass line, what kind of bass sounds I even want. I finally got the main one sort of figured out. So, but this chain that I have here is a very common chain for this sort of effect. I find it very handy. And so first you got to come up with the bass that you actually want to use. So let's go ahead. Let's just turn off all these sort of post effects. Oh, we'll take the wave shaper off too. So this is just the core bass sound. It's a resound based on a FM. So assuming you've got some sound of a similar type of vibe, you know, there's a bunch of different types of sounds that are very common in the genre. A very common thing to do, right, is to shave off the high end and have it sort of sit in the background. Oftentimes it bubbles up, bubbles down according to the rhythms that you write. And so, you know, how are we going to introduce those rhythms? How are we going to achieve those sorts of effects? So the first thing I did here was I added a Saturn 2, just trying to beef it up a little bit. And the settings are very simple. It's really more about how you decide to creatively automate them in and out. And this first one is just a general, you know, just a little bit of a massage. So I've got the smooth amp with the drive up a little bit, and I've got down here subtle transformer. This is an extremely transparent setting, and so I have that affect the bass because I just do not want the low end touched by distortion all that much. So this is very, very subtle, and this one just warms up the high end a touch. It is not that huge of an effect. So here it is before. So there's some high-end sizzle up there, and that's, again, admittedly a bit of an FM decision, but I decided I could smooth that out and sort of use that. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to do after. So it cleans that high end right up. That very, very high end sizzle is taken away. Now I am using the tone here. So you see I'm doing a bit of a mid boost and a tiny bit of a high boost, but that's it. And so again, we'll do before, after. And Smooth Amp in particular is extremely good at this. The other amp sims kind of have, well, I think they have substantially different vibes to them. So this is the one that I really like for this particular job. So that's how I set up Saturn. So pretty simple, you know, nothing too complicated, just a little bit of massaging. And then afterwards, I am looking to add in that motion. Now, when you have a sound like this and you're going to use a filter to move it, there's a couple different ways you could go about it. You could have several steep filters moving around. You could have some high shelves and low shelves doing jobs. Or you could have, in this case, what I went for is a very light low pass. So a lot of the high end still gets through. Extremely leaky low pass. This is the lightest one you can actually do in Volcano 3. And it actually turns off several settings, like the drive and things do not activate when you're using this version of the low pass. You have to go a bit higher and you see those things will engage. So 6 dB per octave. But what this does is it allows you to get a very general tone shape. It allows you to darken the sound without completely removing the high end. And it's extremely useful moving wise. This type of a filter choice really caters itself towards large motions, like musical expressive motions, like general tonal motions, almost like another type of vibrato. And at least that's how I feel about it. So let me just show you what I mean. So at the beginning, we're going to go ahead. We're going to, well, here it is before. Now after. Now there is a high pass as well. I should not neglect this. Also a high pass just to rein in some of the bass because it's pretty crazy bass wise. So this is moving around. And this is just the beginning intro, really, really thin bass sound. A lot of times in a lot of tracks, this approach is used to just establish, the vibe and get you the initial groove. A lot of times it's the hook right at the very beginning. And so that's kind of what this is. Over here in the riser, we really bring down filter. It opens up. So that's pretty standard right there, nothing crazy, just big filter movement. This is where the music bit, really customizing it. So there's a few things you really have to do. You have to figure out what kind of basses you want, what kind of main sound you want, and the rhythm that you want. So it's a lot to sort of think of at once. And then once you have all that, you can sort of begin to take a stab at how you want to shape the filter and move it around. So I went with this sort of a long bending pitch sound, and I mix in another bass at the end, but this sound that I established over here carries the main bulk of this. And it has been mixed with a brass library there. So there's some brass stuff going on, which is why you get suddenly a big wash of reverb and things. But the main, whoa, that is the resound that was over here, and that is coming from these motions of whoa, this right here, oh, is so important. Now, if you were to go for a higher filter order, this would be really, really sharp and a lot more precise, which in this case actually is not a good thing for what I want to do. I want a really broad stroke because it really helps just sell the motion that I'm already doing with the bass line. Like this, it's so good. So without this filter movement, not nearly as interesting. Now there is tonal variation. This is some frequency modulation, which just changes the spectrum of the sound throughout and adds some nice juiciness. But it really comes out with the filter movement. So if you can come up with a line that you really like, and what I do is I either go and listen to a bunch of mixes and try and come up with some inspiration from there, or I'll mess around on the piano until I get a really strong musical line, and then I'll move on from there. So this first bit I'm actually very happy with. Over here was like a bunch of experimenting. It sort of just turns into chaos. So that's not quite ready. But this beginning line is like exactly what I want. Just got to mix it in now. But that's it. So it's just sitting here and thinking, okay, I want boom, wow. So you think, okay, I need a longer motion. I find that having the filter peaking a little bit after, like not right on the rhythm, it gives way more of a dubstep vibe if you start doing stuff like that, which could be fine. Like over here, we're landing straight on, straight beats and stuff. But over here, just having it land on a weaker beat, like peak there and then come back and then hit again on a stronger beat, gives it a lot more groove. And so just a couple tips, couple things. The filter setting itself, right, is pretty simple. And I back off the high pass. So the bass is now completely in the track, and it is a sudden bring in. It just boom, it just moves down, and we have the bass. There is still some cut because the bass is quite aggressive, and this is something I'll deal with more in mixing. Now, to finally wrap it up, I've got here a wave shaper. This is just to brighten it up. And then we've got the Pro Q3. So there's two Pro Q3s. One of them is a tone Pro Q3. So this is just general tone shaping. As I was doing drums and things, this just, sort of that. So mixing EQ, not that crazy. Over here, though, is a shelf. So you notice before I say there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You can do a shelf or not. And at the intro, having just these filters move around to customize it just for the intro would be a lot of additional automation. Sort of, it would just be really complicated and a lot more tricky to do all inside of one plugin. And so a common trick I like to pull out is just grab an EQ, put the curve you want. So we're doing a lot more boosting down here, and this is only for the intro, just to establish that, you know, that low end sort of like, ooh, that juicy vibe that you get. So this is just gonna help reduce it, and then I just automate this off over time. That's this right here. So you see this just moves down over time, and it goes away right before the riser, and then it's pretty much gone for the rest of the track. If I ever want to bring it back, I could just, you know, mix this back up. So that's its only job, but it produces a fantastic effect. So let's just do the intro here. So this was without it. Okay, now with it. Yeah. And then if we were to add the drums back in here, whoops, like so. It just, you know, that's the vibe that you want. And to do something like that with, I mean, I'm automating these things, and these things are very much embedded sort of into the sound. So I find doing moves like this that sort of just, you know, just open up a plugin for that specific instance and have it do the thing. It's just a lot simpler to separate it from the rest of the things. At least, you know, that's how I see it. Maybe you integrate it all. I don't know. Let me know what your approach is down in the comments. So there's the signal chain for you for bass house production. I'm in the midst of this, so a lot of things are still up in the air, but I've got quite a bit of it sorted now, and this chain just pops up all the time. So I hope you find it useful. Let me know what you found the most useful down in the comments. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.